I'm going to entitle this segment, We Are Ruled by the Shittiest, Dumbest Cacostocracy Ever. All of our leadership is just absolutely worthless. Either they are just full on idiots, talking heads, or propagandists. You take your pick what you want to call them, but we are all under, being led by the whims of these fascists and fools. I'd like to start off here with Pete Hegseth. He was asked by Representative Ro Khanna whether or not he would respect the judgment of the judicial branch if they tell the Department of Defense head to take his troops and leave Los Angeles. So let's have a look and see what Pete Hegseth has to say.
So let me ask you another matter. Senator Baldwin asked you about the legal authority for the Marines in my state. I disagree with you. I thought not only do I not want Marines in Iran, I don't want them in California. But I don't want to get a gotcha. They said, what provision? Your administration since then has filed in the federal district court. You're arguing that the Marines should be allowed to defend federal property. I disagree with you. That's your argument. Here's where I hope we can agree. Whatever the federal district court decides, will you abide by it?
Well, this is a pending situation.
So will you agree, though, that it's not my legal view, it's not your legal view that makes the decision in America. It's the federal judiciary. If the federal court in California and the San Francisco, this district judge, orders a preliminary injunction, will you agree to abide by the federal courts?
What I will tell you is my job right now is to ensure the troops that we have in Los Angeles are capable of supporting law enforcement in
Sir, I agree with that, but will you...
And we know
can
we
you
have
just
the constitutional and statutory authority.
That's fine, but can you just assure us that you'll abide by the decisions of the courts?
We've always looked at the decisions of
the Vice President has said that he doesn't believe that the courts should be respected in military matters.
Well, this is not my lane, but we also recognize that the way in which the judiciary has expanded its powers.
But can you just give a simple... Okay, let me ask you this. Two simple questions. You got 30 seconds. I'm not trying to trick you. I think it would assure the American people. Because it shouldn't be Ro Khanna's view of the Constitution. It shouldn't be Secretary Hegseth's. It should be the Supreme Court and the federal courts. Can you assure the American people on two things? You will respect any Supreme Court decision on this matter about whether the Marines are constitutional, and you will respect the district courts when they rule before the Supreme Court rules.
What I can say is we should not have local judges determining foreign policy or national security policy for the country.
So you're not...
That's a no. That's just a no. He has decided, nope, I'm not going to do that. I don't really give a good goddamn what a judge has to say, and Donald Trump sure as shit doesn't. Pete Hegseth is a failed, drunk Fox News BC Squad Fox News member, and he got all of his power from Donald Trump, and he is here to enforce it. Donald Trump, in his first term, had a Department of Defense that told him, no, you cannot shoot protesters. And he had top generals that said, no, Mr. President, we are not going to do preemptive strikes on foreign countries. He actually had guardrails and a handful of people around him that would just say, Mr. President, that is illegal. That is unconstitutional. We cannot do that. Well, in the last 4 years leading up to this last election, Donald Trump has learned one thing. I'm not going to have people in my administration telling me no. I'm going to be surrounded by people that are loyal and they're yes men. And Pete Hegseth is a yes man. Pete Hegseth is not about to rock the boat, and he wants to make sure that he stays in the good graces of Donald Trump. So he is just going to, if Donald Trump says we're ignoring the court, then Pete Hegseth is just going to go out there, run cover, and do everything he can to make sure it looks like it's above board. And with the thinnest veil of excuses, we have 5,000 troops in LA, and they could be there for the next couple of months at least. Who knows how long this will take to get to the Supreme Court, and who knows if the Supreme Court is going to rule the correct way, or are they going to rule in Donald Trump's favor? In my opinion, I think the Supreme Court is desperately trying to find reasons to rule in Donald Trump's favor so they will maintain some kind of legitimacy, because they give one decision that Donald Trump doesn't like and he decides not to follow it, then everybody's going to see that the Supreme Court is just a stuffed shirt and they have absolutely no power. And honestly, they don't have any power. Anyway, we're moving on to our next lovely individual, part of the Donald Trump administration that is just absolute ass soup. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Abrego Garcia was taken out of the country a couple of months ago, sent to Bukele's dungeon in El Salvador, and the rumor was that nobody ever leaves. Well, enough stink has been made about Abrego Garcia, so the Donald Trump and his Attorney General Pam Bondi has decided to bring him back, but not bring him back and just dismiss all charges or try to move on from this. No. Pam Bondi says, we're going to find some extra stuff on him. We're going to trump up some charges, pun actually intended. And we're going to make sure that we prosecute him and then we, deport him back to El Salvador. So this is what she had to say. She's making up some lots of charges. I'm going to skip over most of it because it's all bullshit, but this is what she has to say.
It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico. This is part of that same ring.
I still can't get over she calls it Mexico. These are the dumbest people. These are the silliest people. They are doing this obviously because they are trying to run cover for the dear leader, and they do not want to. That's one thing that Donald Trump has learned a long ass time ago. Never, ever admit you are wrong. Ever. Double down, triple down, quadruple down. And Donald Trump has proven that over and over and over again. And he also knows that the news cycle is short. If you continue to do batshit crazy stuff, then you know within a couple days, the batshit crazy story that just happened is going to be gone because there's a new batshit crazy thing happening. Just like last week with Elon Musk saying that you were in the goddamn Epstein file, which he is in the Epstein file. Gawker released it 10 years ago. And he's also trying to distract from the fact that the big, beautiful, bullshit ass tax cut bill is going to not only increase the debt and the deficit, but is going to leave 10 million poor people without health care. And a lot of those people are in red states who actually voted for him. So the two horrible things that came out last week about how bad the bill is, how poorly it's doing in the debate in the Senate, it's already passed the House. Now it's being debated on the Senate, and it's not looking good. And Donald Trump needs a distraction. So let's send a shitload of troops to L.A. And, that Abrego Garcia guy, we found a whole bunch of dirt on him. We got some, compatriots that told us that, he's doing human trafficking and what have you. So we're going to bring him back, we're going to prosecute him, and we're going to send him out of the country. So Miss Attorney General Pam Bondi, Mexico, she's just another one of these douchebags. Now, let's move on yet again. Just going to skip right to it. Senator Thompson is questioning the Treasury Secretary, Basant, who, by the way, is just weak and feckless, and he knows his job is just to go out there and just defend Donald Trump, whatever he decides. So if Donald Trump puts on a shitload of tariffs and screws up our economy, then that is Donald Trump trying to bring jobs back to the country. And then when he ends those tariffs, because he sees how bad they're looking and foreign countries are selling off treasury bonds, and he knows it's going to possibility of sending us into a recession or a Great Depression, then Basant says, that's just part of the deal. So Secretary Basant is just there as a salve for Donald Trump's, idiocy and screw ups. We all are looking at it. Our economy is not looking great. Eggs did not come down. Grocery prices are going through the roof. Gasoline prices, I guarantee you, if we invade Iran, oh my God, your gas prices are going to go through the roof. But here we are with Treasury Secretary Basant, and he has the most hilarious thing to say.
Mr. Secretary, can you point to one independent study, one study performed by an expert PhD economist who is not on the payroll of this administration that says that this legislation will not add to our national debt?
Well, Congressman,
Yes or no? Can you point to one?
if we want to look at the CBO,
No, I'm not asking you, is there an independent expert that you can point to that says that this bill will not add to our national debt? Yes or no?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
What are they?
Art Laffer.
Pardon me?
Art Laffer.
Art Laffer? Great. That I don't think that one counts.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely, no kidding. Now, you guys are not, into politics as much as somebody like me. You probably don't know who Art Laffer is. Art Laffer is responsible for the Laffer curve, and he famously wrote it on a bar napkin. So it's like one of those, one of those expressions of, if it took you longer to say it than it does to think it, then maybe you need to rethink this. Art Laffer, his idea is that you cut taxes for rich people down to the bone, and then they will be generating so much more business that we'll be able to get more taxes from them. And time, now keep in mind that this was during the Reagan administration, and we saw at the end of the Reagan administration employing trickle-down economics, which George H.W. Bush called this voodoo economics. And if you guys have ever watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you'll remember that Ben Stein, the teacher that was in the classroom, he mentioned voodoo economics. That's what he was talking about. George H.W. Bush called Art Laffer's trickle-down economics Laffer curve. He called that voodoo economics because it doesn't work. It's never worked. They tried it again under George W. Bush. It did not work. They tried it again under Donald Trump. It did not work. What happens is you cut rich people's taxes. Rich people take that money and they buy back their own company's stock, thereby increasing the value of their stock. And then they get their company to not pay them a salary, but to pay them in stock options. Then they take those stock options, they go to a bank and they say, I have this many millions of dollars in stock options. Will you give me a loan? The bank gives them a sweetheart loan of 2 to 3%. And that is what they pay in taxes, as opposed to paying, if you sold your stock, then you've got to pay capital gains tax, which is not as high as regular tax, but is 15%. So the way rich people tend to make and keep their money is to buy back their own stock, increase their stock's value, get paid in stock, take loans against those stocks, and only have to pay a small amount of interest from the bank, and then they live out the rest of their lives until they die. That is how things have been done, since Donald Trump's, since George W. Bush's, rule back in the early 2000s. And it all started from a guy named Art Laffer. Now, Art Laffer's Laffer curve was employed also in Kansas. There's this really good book out there I would recommend. It's called What's the Matter with Kansas? And what happened was Sam Brownback, who was the governor of Kansas, decided to hire Art Laffer to come in and help him out with his economics. And, Art Laffer comes in there with his Laffer curve and says, okay, cut taxes all the way down to the bone. And within 2 years, Kansas's government was so completely busted, so broke, did not have any more money left, because if you cut taxes for the wealthy, then the wealthy are not going to increase their revenue. It's like, that moment where I believe the guy's name was Cohen, as Trump's first-term economic advisor. He went out to speak to about 400 of the biggest business guys out there. And he says, okay, we're going to cut your taxes, so you guys are going to start building factories and rehiring a whole bunch of people. And the whole room laughed. The whole room of all of these titans of industry just chuckled their heads off, because they had absolutely no intention of reinvesting their tax breaks into their business. They did exactly what they've always done. They take their tax breaks, they buy back their own stock, increasing the stock value, and then getting paid in stock, and then borrowing against it at a bank. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And the only thing I would say about trickle-down economics is they are literally pissing on you and telling you it's raining. Just wait for the gold to fall from above, folks. No, that's not urine, folks. That is gold. That's Donald Trump gold right there. Live it and love it. So anyway, we are being ruled by some of the dumbest and most corrupt people I've ever seen in my life. And it's not getting any better, folks. It is absolutely not getting any better. This is just what happened this week. So anyway, I'm sure we'll have a new red line to cross next week. But anyway, Jesus Christ. They call it a cacostocracy. I think we're living in one. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.